Warning. Everything on this channel and video is for educational purposes only. All content is intended for people 21 years of age and older. All acts are performed by professionals and all people shown are 21 years of age and older. All acts are performed under the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. Do not attempt to recreate or reenact anything you see in this channel. Alright.
Now, turns out size does matter. And fellas, I'm not talking about you, I'm saying plants in general. It really does matter when it comes to size. Some people are looking for much larger plants and others are looking for the short and squatty, more indica-like plants. So in this video, I'm gonna go over some of the best short squatty plants that I've come across in my almost 20 years now growing. Stay tuned. So if you're new here, my name is Rob and we talk all things herb. Today in particular, we're gonna be talking about short, squattier cultivars that are gonna be better for those of us who are limited to size, limited in space, and potentially are trying to keep things maybe a little more low-key. Now what got me thinking about this is I'm getting ready to put another plant into the V-Grow. And the goal is to see if I could get these as girthy and beasty and thick as I can in this small container. Now if you didn't see my grow series in the V-Grow, last time I used the Donuts Triploid from Humboldt Seed Company. Not only did that one herm out on me, but it was just one designed for outdoor growing, from what they said. And this made it a little bit harder for someone like myself who was growing in small constraints like a grow tent and the V-Grow. And if you're looking to get a V-Grow, big shout out to VivoSun. You can use discount code CLTV at checkout, save yourself some money on any of their equipment, but specifically the V-Grow is what I'm talking about here. So some factors that come into having a cultivar that's gonna be meant for a small grow space like this or something that stays low and squatty is getting genetics that are bred for indoor growth. Believe it or not, some people do specifically grow for outside growing. They never bred inside and they're not doing any testing inside. So if you do get genetics that are, let's say, Donuts Triploid, I would not recommend putting those into a small grow space, into a propagation tent, or into a limited height space in general. This is something that can be detrimental to your grow, stunt your overall yield, and just really make it kind of lackluster overall as a grower. And really just honestly, if you're me, kind of piss you off, because that stretch is insane. Now different phenotypes of different strains or cultivars can have different expressions, but on this list I've grown multiple and I've yet to find any lanky tall ones. There is outliers out there obviously, but specifically this list right here, it's been short, squatty, and thick. Now what genetics have you had that are a lot shorter, squattier, and good to grow in a small space? Let me know below in the comment section. So starting off will be Chill Out OG by the homie Mr. Grow It. Now this one is low, squatty, thick, and girthy. Whether I've grown it, Chris has, Pigeons 420, multiple other people that I know personally, or for you that I've seen posting it over in Discord. I seen the whole thing! It seems that Chill Out OG is just that squatty hottie, and it consistently grows that way. The globe-like shape, and oftentimes for me, would self-top. This would split immediately down the middle, usually about a foot tall, 4th or 5th node up. Now the Pakistan Valley potentially is the reason for this. Being a pure indica landrace, it will be something that's a lot more squatty and low to the earth in general. I think that people will see some of these older genetics that have the indica or sativa-like structure, and if you look in the lineage of your cultivars, you may end up finding something if it was selected properly for breeding. This is more intentional breeding, that's something where they thought about the structure, not just the end result in the smoke. It does like some good training, but it grows low and squatty originally, so if anything, some defoliation or pruning could be beneficial, some low stress training or super cropping. Next on my list would be Bubba Kush. This one has always been a short, low to the ground, low gravity based round globe for me. Now there have been other ones in the past that I've seen that claim to be Bubba Kush that are just lanky and gangly, but pre-98 Bubba Kush, if you're able to get your hands on that, which is pretty tough, or even a replica, oftentimes is squattier, thicker, and bushy. You can expect very tight nodes with Bubba Kush, again, globe-like structure and a very thick, low indica look to it. Defoliation often is a must with almost all of these, but this one in particular, I noticed that if you don't get to it, you could have a lot more larvae buds. This results in just less quality overall and less of a yield. So doing some training, vigorous training, potentially lollipopping depending, or utilizing the scrog technique may be a good one with this. Next on my list would be Moby Dick. This one in particular would be the cut that Seedsman has if you're getting their clones. It's very squatty, very low, super tight node space, and it's definitely one I consider a indica-like structure. This is more of a hybrid, and depending if you end up grabbing some beans, this could vary in terms of the phenotype. You may get a lankier one depending if it leans more on the sativa dominant bud structure, but for the most part, you're gonna be seeing this one girthy, thick, and definitely tight nodes. Now the leaf to bud ratio is really nice on a Moby Dick, and again, it depends on the one that you have. The one that I got from Seedsman, which you could see on a video coming out real soon, was definitely one in general for me that I thought was probably, I wouldn't say the best phenotype that I've gotten, because I feel the smoke of the sativa leaning one was a little bit better in terms of sativa bud structure or growth. But this one, the look of it, the compact bud structure, and the overall yield on this, I definitely would say that the Moby Dick from Seedsman hit. Now, if you do get these ones from Dynafem, you may have to find the specific phenotype, but the ones that I found have definitely been low and squatty. The overall smoke is solid too, but I prefer a little bit more on that Chill Out OG and the Bubba Kush, personally. And going from dick to dog, no diddy, we've got Stardog. This one was 100% indica when I got it, and it looked that way. Very short, very squatty, very thick. Produced pretty well for what it was, and it was covered in trichomes. The leaf to bud ratio was a little bit better on this one than the other ones that I mentioned, but the overall bud structure was a little bit more, I wouldn't say lackluster, but just more golf ball sized buds. They didn't stack as much. The leaf to bud ratio was good for trimming, but the node space, as tight as it was, they didn't stack as good as they could have. And this could have potentially been the phenotype I had, and mind you, this was years ago now that I grew this, but the overall results for that one, very low, squatty, thick. Low stress training on this one made it so it was already pancaked out, and it was a lot easier to do low stress training and topping. This being across a Chem Dog and Trey Dog or Tres Dog or TRES Dog.
What a dumbass.
Oftentimes you will see a little bit lankier, gangly cultivar, but the Star Dogs that I was able to obtain were very, very thick, very bushy, and definitely ones that I consider the squatty hotties. And last but not least, Kerosene Crash. This one's from Dutch Passion, and while it was not my favorite smoke, it was a great grower. Nice leaf to bud ratio, good bud structure. I mean, I ended up harvesting this one in about 7.5, 8 weeks. And while it wasn't the best of smoke, it was a great looker. She was more of a shower than a grower for me, but very thick, very squatty, very fat. This one having a Sherbert and a Gorilla Glue number 4 mix. I was honestly kind of surprised to see that structure to it, but I was pleasantly surprised. Having something that wasn't that big, lanky, not great stacker was definitely a nice one. But I will say, I wish it leaned a little bit more on the Gorilla Glue. It could be the particular phenotypes that I had, and maybe I'll hunt that one again in the future. Dynafem has some bomb ones. You can check those over at Seedsman, discount code CLTV. There's a variety of different ones that you can get that may lean a little bit more towards that Sherbert. Some people prefer that, but the growth that I got out of this that leaned more on the Sherb side with a little bit of the Gorilla Glue was something that a lot of people would be after. But the smoke for me was, you know, a lot left to be desired. Now, other alternatives are getting something like an autoflower. I'm honestly considering the Gorilla Cookies autoflower from Fast Buds. That was one that Chubbs had a couple years ago at MJ BizCon, and I would say it definitely sparked my interest. Now, an autoflower oftentimes can be lower and squattier, but that's because it didn't stretch as much as it could. Now, there's plenty of people who get big, massive autoflowers these days, but I do feel that oftentimes, depending on how you grow it, the pot size, and a variety of different variables, it can make it so you have a lot smaller of a plant. And if you're looking to grow a plant in an area that has less space, well, you may want something that's smaller and just grow more of those. Now, of course, depending on what you have, you can just low stress train these plants or work them through a trellis net or scrog net. Utilizing a technique like this can definitely help you keep them low and squatty and not get that lanky, gangly, wacky, inflatable balloon man look. Now, if you're growing in something like the V-Grow, you're limited for width, so your plant's gonna be growing tall, and utilizing multiple trellises may be the best technique you can utilize there. The scrog technique is going to be a little bit harder unless you're flipping your plant to flower right away. And in that case, you may not fill up that whole net, and you won't necessarily have the technique fulfilled properly. So in that situation or a similar situation, having a cultivar that can grow good is definitely going to be ideal, but one that can grow good in a small space is crucial. Now, if you want to see me growing in that V-Grow, you can check out this video series up here. Mind you, well, it was pretty, it wasn't the best results in the end, and it's not because of V-Grow, it's because of how we grow, and that was putting the wrong genetics in there. If you like videos like this, do me a favor, hit that like button, share it with your fellow Grow-Me. Thanks for watching, and of course, stay lifted. Peace. Growers who are looking for that secret sauce usually are just missing something from their garden.
And to help with that, we bring you the Stash Blend Premium Plant Additive. Stash Blend brings beneficial bacteria, silicon, seaweed, humic acid, and has enough macronutrition to help lower the dosages of your base feed too. Unleash your plant's true potential with Stash Blend Premium Plant Additive. Available at Growers House.